She hated him, then woke up as his wife. Chapter 1. The Enemy I'd Never Marry. Lena Park believed in 3 simple rules. Stay focused, stay ahead, and never, under any circumstances, let Ethan Vale win. Unfortunately, Ethan Vale existed solely to break all 3. Your data's wrong. Lena didn't even look up from her laptop. My data is flawless. Your attitude, however, is deeply concerning. Across the lab table, Ethan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed like he had all the time in the world, which, infuriatingly, he somehow did. You mislabeled the 3rd sample. She froze. Just for a second. Then, slowly, she turned her screen toward herself and checked. Her eye twitched. It's a minor error. It's a catastrophic error, he corrected, not even trying to hide his grin. Lena snapped her laptop shut. You're enjoying this. I'm thriving, actually. God, she hated him. Not just because he was always right, which he wasn't, except when he was, but because he acted like everything came easily. Like the long nights she spent studying, the pressure she carried, the constant need to prove herself, none of that mattered. Ethan Vale just showed up and excelled. Try keeping up, Park, he added, casually flipping through his notes. I'd rather trip you, she muttered. That sounds like a confession. That sounds like a promise. The rest of the lab session passed in tense silence, broken only by passive-aggressive remarks and the occasional dramatic sigh, mostly from Lena. By the time class ended, she was mentally exhausted. As she packed her bag, Ethan spoke again. Don't forget to fix your mistake. She slung her bag over her shoulder and shot him a glare sharp enough to cut glass. Don't forget to mind your business. My business is making sure we don't fail. We won't fail, she said firmly. Because of me, he replied. She stepped closer, narrowing her eyes. If we succeed, it'll be despite you. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air between them felt charged. Then Ethan smirked, breaking it like it meant nothing. Keep telling yourself that. Lena turned on her heel and walked away before she did something drastic, like throwing a beaker at his head. That night, her room felt unusually quiet. She dropped her bag onto the chair and flopped onto her bed, staring at the ceiling. Why did he get under her skin so easily? It wasn't just his arrogance. It was the way he looked at her sometimes, like he understood her, like he saw through every carefully built wall she had. And she hated that most of all. With a groan, she buried her face into her pillow. I can't stand him. Her voice was muffled, but filled with conviction. She rolled onto her back again, staring blankly ahead. Arrogant, annoying, insufferable. She paused. Unfairly good-looking. Her eyes widened. Wait, no, absolutely not. She sat up, shaking her head as if physically removing the thought. Disgusting, I need sleep. Lena collapsed back onto her bed, pulling the blanket over herself. But just before she drifted off, one last thought slipped through. If I ever marry Ethan Vale. She let out a tired laugh. Something has gone horribly, terribly wrong. And with that, she closed her eyes. Completely unaware. That by morning, everything would change. Chapter 2, Wife to My Worst Nightmare. The first thing Lena noticed when she woke up was that her bed felt wrong. Too soft. Too big. Too expensive. Her eyes fluttered open slowly, still heavy with sleep, but the unfamiliar ceiling snapped her fully awake. It was high, sleek, and decorated with subtle gold accents, definitely not the slightly cracked, glow-in-the-dark star-covered ceiling of her tiny bedroom. What? She bolted upright. The room was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a skyline she didn't recognize at first glance, glittering with city lights and towering buildings. The furniture looked like something out of a luxury magazine, clean, modern, intimidatingly perfect. This is not my house. Her voice echoed slightly in the space. Her heartbeat began to pick up. Okay, she muttered, throwing off the silk sheets. and standing up. Stay calm, you're dreaming. This is just a very detailed, very expensive dream. She looked down at herself. She was wearing a satin nightdress. I don't even own this. Before she could spiral further, she heard it. The sound of running water. From the bathroom. She froze. Oh no. Her brain raced through worst-case scenarios at lightning speed. Kidnapping, robbery, organ trafficking, secret billionaire cult. The water shut off. Lena grabbed the nearest object, a decorative pillow, and held it up like a weapon. The bathroom door opened. Steam rolled out. And then, Ethan Vale stepped out. Shirtless. Hair damp. Looking like he had just walked out of a ridiculously high-budget drama. Lena screamed. A full, unfiltered, horror movie-level scream. Ethan blinked, clearly startled but not nearly enough for her liking. You're awake. Why are you here? She yelled, backing away and pointing the pillow at him aggressively. And why are you half naked? He glanced down at himself, then back at her. I just showered. That is not the issue. Ethan frowned slightly, like she was the confusing one. Why are you yelling? Why am I? She gestured wildly around the room. This isn't my house. You're in my room. I'm underdressed. You're you. He tilted his head. Our room. Lena stopped. What? Our room, he repeated calmly, grabbing a towel and casually drying his hair like this situation was completely normal. You live here, with me. She stared at him. Processing. Rejecting. Reprocessing. No, she said firmly. Absolutely not. I would rather live in a cardboard box. Ethan sighed. You hit your head again, didn't you? Again. Yes. Last time you forgot where you put your phone and accused me of stealing your identity. That sounds like something you would do. It really doesn't. Her eyes narrowed. Why are you so calm? Because, he said, tossing the towel aside, this isn't new. That made her pause. What do you mean this isn't new? Instead of answering, Ethan walked over to the dresser and picked something up. A photo frame. He held it out to her. Here, proof. Suspicious, Lena snatched it from his hand. And then, her brain short-circuited. It was a wedding photo. Her in a white dress. Him in a suit. Standing impossibly close. Smiling. Actually smiling. Her fingers loosened, and the frame slipped slightly in her grasp. No. Ethan leaned casually against the wall. Yes. This is fake. It's not. I would never marry you. You did. I would remember. You don't. She looked up at him, panic creeping in. This is a prank. It's a legally binding marriage. Her stomach dropped. You're lying. You proposed. Silence. Lena blinked. Once. Twice. I what? He shrugged, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Cried too. I don't cry. You ugly cried. I do not. She stopped mid-yell, staring at the ring on her finger. Her hand trembled. It was real. Heavy. Warm. Take it off, she whispered. Ethan's expression softened, just slightly. No. She looked at him sharply. Why not? Because, he said quietly, you didn't want to take it off. The room suddenly felt too big. Too quiet. Too real. Lena swallowed hard, her voice smaller now. This doesn't make any sense. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Then, softer than before. It will. And somehow. That terrified her more than anything else. Chapter 3, Proof I Ruined My Own Life. No. Lena paced the length of the bedroom like a trapped animal, running both hands through her hair. No, 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 this is insane. This is actually insane. Ethan, meanwhile, sat on the edge of the bed, watching her with the patience of someone who had either gone through this before, or had the emotional range of a rock. I don't marry enemies, she continued, pointing at him like he was Exhibit A in a courtroom. Especially not you. You say that like I forced you, he replied calmly. You must have. I didn't. You manipulated me. I didn't. You blackmailed me. I definitely didn't. She stopped packing abruptly, then explain it. I already did. No, you didn't. You just said I proposed like that's a normal thing. For you it was. That's not reassuring. Ethan exhaled slowly, like he was trying not to laugh. Do you want actual proof, or are you just going to keep yelling? Lena crossed her arms. I want undeniable, irreversible, reality-shattering proof. That's dramatic. I am dramatic right now. He stood up, walking past her toward a sleek cabinet near the wall. Lena followed immediately, suspicious of everything he touched. What are you doing? She demanded. Building your case against yourself. That's not funny. It's a little funny. He opened the cabinet and pulled out a small black box. Lena froze. Oh no. He held it out to her. Go on. Her hands hesitated before taking it, like it might explode. Slowly, she opened the box. Inside, another ring. Simpler than the one on her finger, but unmistakably a wedding band. She looked up at him, her throat dry. Why do you have two? That one's mine. You're telling me I gave you a ring. You got on one knee. Her jaw dropped. I would never. You tripped while doing it. That sounds more accurate. Ethan's lips twitched. You were crying so hard I couldn't understand half of what you were saying. I don't cry. You do when you're emotional. I am never emotional. You cried over a dog commercial once. That dog found a home, Ethan. He raised an eyebrow. You don't even remember the commercial. That's not the point. Lena snapped the box shut and shoved it back at him, as if rejecting it would somehow undo everything. This proves nothing, she insisted, though her voice wavered slightly. Ethan studied her, then walked past her again, this time heading toward the living area. Follow me, he said. I don't take orders from you. You married me. Temporarily. He didn't argue, just kept walking. Grumbling, Lena followed. The living room was just as intimidating as the bedroom. Wide, open, filled with soft lighting and expensive furniture that looked like it had never been sat on. Ethan gestured toward a wall. Look. She turned. Photos. Dozens of them. Some framed, some casually clipped onto a board. Her breath caught. There she was. Laughing. Leaning against him. Holding his hand. In one photo, she was asleep on the couch, her head resting on his shoulder while he looked down at her, not smirking, not teasing. Just soft. That's not me, she whispered. It is. I don't look like that. Like what? Happy. Ethan didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quieter. You were. Something in her chest tightened. She stepped closer, scanning the photos like they might rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Vacation pictures, casual selfies, moments that felt too real to fake. This is crazy, she murmured. You keep saying that. Because it is. She turned to him suddenly. Okay, fine, let's say this is real, hypothetically. What happened? She demanded. How did we go from this? She pointed between them, frustration spilling over to that. Ethan held her gaze. For a second, something flickered in his expression. Not amusement. Not sarcasm. Something deeper. You stopped hating me, he said. That's not enough to marry you. You started understanding me. She faltered slightly. Still not enough. A pause. Then softer. You fell in love with me. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Unavoidable. Lena's heart stuttered. No, she said, but it sounded weaker now. I wouldn't. You did. She shook her head, backing away like distance could protect her from the idea. You're wrong. I'm not. I would remember something like that. Ethan's expression shifted, just slightly. A shadow of something she couldn't quite name. Yeah, he said quietly. You should. And for the first time, Lena felt something colder than confusion. Something closer to fear. Chapter 4, Married and Somehow Happy. Lena decided, very rationally, that the only way to survive this situation was to treat it like an investigation. Step 1, gather evidence. Step 2, find inconsistencies. Step 3, prove Ethan Vale was lying. Simple. Except, nothing was adding up in her favor. She stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, watching him like a suspicious detective in a crime drama. Ethan, completely unfazed, poured coffee into a mug. Not just any mug. Her mug. It was white, slightly chipped at the rim, with a tiny cartoon cat printed on the side. Something she would absolutely buy, but definitely didn't remember owning. He added sugar. 2 spoons. A splash of milk. Then he slid it across the counter toward her. Drink it before it gets cold. Lena didn't touch it. Instead, she narrowed her eyes. You poisoned it. Ethan didn't even look up. Yes, slowly, over 3 years. Huh, I knew it. You're exhausting. She hesitated, then, carefully, picked up the mug and took a small sip. Her eyes widened. It was perfect. Exactly how she liked it. Lucky guess, she muttered. I've made it for you, every morning for the past year. She nearly choked. Every morning. You're not a morning person. You get grumpy. I do not get grumpy. You threatened to quit your job over toast once. That toaster was defective. It was. She set the mug down a little too quickly, unsettled by how natural this felt to him. How do you know all this? She demanded. Ethan leaned against the counter, folding his arms. Because I live with you. That doesn't mean you memorize everything. It does if it matters. The words landed heavier than expected. Lena looked away. That's weird. You married weird. She rolled her eyes, but there was less bite behind it this time. The rest of the apartment didn't help her case either. Everywhere she looked, there were traces of a life she didn't remember living. A pair of her shoes neatly placed beside his. Her books mixed in with his, some of them annotated, like they'd been shared. A blanket draped over the couch that smelled faintly like him. This is unsettling, she said under her breath. You've said that 5 times already, Ethan replied from behind her. Because it keeps getting worse. He walked past her, casually picking up a stray hair tie from the table and handing it to her. You'll need this. She stared at it. Why do you have my hair tie? You leave them everywhere. That doesn't mean you collect them like souvenirs. They're not souvenirs, he said dryly. They're survival tools. You complain when you can't find them. She opened her mouth to argue, then paused. That did sound like something she would do. I still don't like this, she muttered, taking it anyway. Later, Lena found herself standing in front of a wall of photos again. She couldn't stop looking at them. There was one in particular that pulled her in. It was simple. Just the 2 of them on a couch. She was laughing, really laughing, head tilted back, eyes bright. Ethan sat beside her, watching her instead of the camera. Not with his usual teasing expression. Something softer. Something real. Why do you look like that? She asked quietly. Ethan, who had just walked in, followed her gaze. Like what? Like, she hesitated, like I matter. He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was low. You do. Lena swallowed. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to, he said. She turned to face him fully now. You're not the same. He raised a brow. I'd hope not. 10 years is a long time. No, she said, shaking her head. Not older, different. How? She struggled for the word. Nicer. Ethan let out a quiet huff of amusement. Don't sound so disappointed. I am disappointed, she shot back. I had a whole argument prepared. You still argue with me. That's different. How? She stepped closer, studying him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. Back then, I argued because I couldn't stand you. And now? Lena hesitated. Her gaze flickered briefly to his lips, then away. I don't know why I'm arguing anymore. Something shifted in the air. Subtle. Dangerous. Ethan noticed it too. His voice dropped slightly. That sounds like progress. Her heart skipped. Don't get ahead of yourself, she said quickly. Too late. For a moment, neither of them moved. The space between them felt smaller than it should. Warmer. Unfamiliar. Lena cleared her throat, stepping back. This doesn't change anything. Ethan's gaze lingered on her for a second longer before he nodded. Of course it doesn't. But the way he said it made her feel like it already had. Chapter 5, Suspiciously Domestic Enemy. Lena had officially reached a new conclusion. Ethan Vale was dangerous. Not because he was arrogant. Not because he was her rival. But because he was domestic. And it was deeply, deeply unsettling. She stood in the kitchen doorway, arms folded, watching him move around like he belonged there. Which, unfortunately, he did. What are you doing? She asked suspiciously. Ethan didn't look up from the stove. Cooking. I can see that. Why? Because we need to eat. That sounds fake. He huffed a quiet laugh. You're unbelievable. I'm cautious, she corrected. You're paranoid. I woke up married to my enemy. I think I've earned paranoia. Fair. Lena leaned against the doorframe, narrowing her eyes as he flipped something in the pan with practiced ease. Since when can you cook? Since you nearly burned the kitchen down trying to make pasta. Her jaw dropped. I would never. You forgot water. That was one time. You also set off the fire alarm. It was sensitive. Ethan glanced at her, unimpressed. It was smoke. She clicked her tongue, but didn't argue further. Because annoyingly, that also sounded like something she might do. He plated the food and slid it onto the counter. Sit. I don't take orders. You get hangry. I do not get hangry. You cried over noodles once. That was an emotional day. It was instant ramen. That brand is important to me. Ethan shook his head, clearly amused as he handed her a pair of chopsticks. Reluctantly, Lena sat. She eyed the food like it might betray her. If this tastes bad, I'm divorcing you. You said that last week. I meant it this time. You always mean it. She took a cautious bite. Then paused. Then took another. This is good, she admitted reluctantly. Ethan smirked. I know. Don't get used to compliments. Too late. After dinner, Lena hovered awkwardly in the living room while Ethan cleaned up. Why are you doing that? She asked. Because someone has to. I can help. He glanced over his shoulder. You're going to help the way you helped with cooking. That was sabotage. By you. She rolled her eyes but stepped closer anyway, grabbing a towel and pretending to dry already dry dishes. For a few moments, they worked in silence. It felt normal. Too normal. I don't like this, she said suddenly. Ethan didn't stop what he was doing. You've said that before. No, I mean at this time. So did you the other times. She frowned, watching the way he moved so easily in a space that still felt foreign to her. You act like this is routine, she said. It is. That's weird. You married weird. I did not marry, she stopped herself, exhaling sharply. Stop saying that like it's real. Ethan finally turned to face her. It is real, Lena. Something in his tone made her pause. Less teasing. More steady. She looked away first. It shouldn't be. Why not? Because you're you, she said, gesturing at him, and I'm me. That hasn't changed. Exactly, that's the problem. Ethan studied her for a moment. Then, slowly, he stepped closer. Lena's breath caught. Then maybe, he said quietly, you don't know yourself as well as you think. Her heart stuttered. That's not true. Isn't it? He reached out, and without thinking, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was simple, casual, familiar, but it sent a jolt straight through her. Lena froze. Don't do that. Ethan's hand lingered for half a second longer before dropping. You used to like it. I don't remember liking it. That doesn't mean you didn't. She swallowed, suddenly very aware of how close he was. Stop acting like a husband, she said, her voice quieter now. Ethan's lips curved slightly. I am your husband. The words hit differently this time. Not teasing. Not light. Real. Too real. Lena stepped back quickly, putting space between them. That doesn't mean you get to just. To what? She gestured vaguely, flustered. To be like this. Like what? Good at it. Ethan blinked. Then unexpectedly laughed. A soft, genuine laugh that made something twist in her chest. You're upset I'm a decent husband. Yes. That's a new one. She huffed, crossing her arms. It's confusing. Why? Because, she snapped, you're not supposed to be this version of you. And what version am I supposed to be? She opened her mouth. Paused. Because the answer didn't come as easily anymore. Not this one, she finished weakly. Ethan's gaze softened, just slightly. Well, he said, voice low, get used to it. Lena hated how her heart reacted to that. Hated it. And yet, she didn't walk away. Chapter 6, Accidental Almost Kiss. Lena had made a decision. A very important, very necessary decision. She was going to avoid Ethan Vale. Completely. No unnecessary conversations. No accidental eye contact. No, whatever that moment in the kitchen had been. It was a solid plan. A foolproof plan. A plan that lasted exactly 23 minutes. Move. I was here first. You're standing in front of the fridge. I'm thinking. You're staring at milk. I'm evaluating options. You're blocking oxygen. Lena exhaled sharply and stepped to the side, glaring as Ethan reached past her and grabbed the carton with zero hesitation. You always pick that one, he said. How do you know what I always pick? You complain when it's out of stock. I complain about a lot of things. I know. She folded her arms. Stop acting like you know me. I do know you. Not this me. Ethan paused, the fridge door still open. Something flickered across his face again, that same quiet restraint she didn't understand. Yeah, he said softly, not this you. The air shifted. Too heavy. Too real. Lena looked away first. Just pour the milk. He did, handing her the glass without another word. She took it, careful not to let their fingers touch. Except, they did. Just barely. A brush. But it sent a spark straight up her arm. Lena froze. Ethan did too. For a second, neither of them moved. Then she pulled her hand back quickly, clearing her throat. That was accidental. Obviously. Don't make it weird. I wasn't going to. Good. You're making it weird. I am not. He closed the fridge slowly, watching her in that quiet, assessing way that made her chest feel too tight. You're avoiding me, he said. I am not. You haven't looked at me properly since yesterday. I look at you all the time. You're staring at the floor right now. She snapped her gaze up immediately. See? Ethan's lips twitched, but there was something else there too. Something softer. Something dangerous. Later that evening, Lena found herself on the couch, pretending to scroll through her phone. Pretending. Because she hadn't read a single word in the last 5 minutes. She could feel him. Not touching her. Not speaking. Just there. Ethan sat beside her, close enough that she was aware of every small movement. The shift of his arm. The quiet exhale of his breath. The warmth radiating off him. This is stupid, she muttered. What is? This, she gestured vaguely between them. Whatever this tension is. He glanced at her. What tension? She stared at him. You're kidding. I'm not. You don't feel that. Feel what? That thing where it feels like the air is too tight and you can't breathe properly and… She stopped herself, flustered. And it's annoying. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Then, slowly. No, he said, I don't think it's annoying. Her heart skipped. That's not what I meant. I know. Silence settled between them again. Thicker this time. More deliberate. Lena shifted slightly, turning toward him before she could stop herself. Why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like you're waiting. For what? She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. Or maybe she did, and didn't want to admit it. Ethan leaned back slightly, giving her space. But somehow, that made it worse. Relax, he said quietly. I'm not going to do anything. I didn't say you were. You were thinking it. I was not. You were. She huffed, setting her phone aside. Fine, maybe I was. And it's weird. Why? Because you're supposed to be my enemy. And now? Lena hesitated. The answer stuck in her throat. I don't know what you are anymore. That seemed to affect him. Just a little. Ethan leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, closer now. Not touching, but close enough that her breath caught. You could ask, he said. Ask what? What I am to you. She swallowed. And you'd tell me. I always did. Her gaze dropped to his lips, then snapped back up. This is a bad idea. Probably. Neither of them moved. Seconds stretched. Heartbeat loud. Too loud. And then, Lena leaned forward. Just slightly. Just enough to close the distance. Ethan didn't pull away. Didn't speak. Didn't even breathe, it seemed. Their faces inches apart. Her heart racing. His gaze steady. Still hate me, he murmured softly. Her breath trembled. Working on it. That was all it took. The space between them vanished. Almost. At the last second, Lena froze. Reality crashing back in. This wasn't her life. This wasn't her choice. She pulled back abruptly, standing up too fast. Nope, no, that didn't happen. Ethan leaned back slowly, watching her. Didn't it? It was a mistake. It almost was. She pointed at him, flustered. Don't finish that sentence. A small, knowing smile tugged at his lips. Okay. Lena grabbed a cushion and hugged it like armor. This changes nothing. Of course. I still don't like you. I definitely don't want to kiss you. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I didn't say anything. You were thinking it. I was. She turned away, cheeks warm, heart still racing. This is ridiculous. Behind her, his voice came, low, calm, certain. You're the one who leaned in first. Lena froze. I hate you. Sure you do. And somehow, that sounded a lot less convincing than it used to. Chapter 7, The Notebook. Lena couldn't sleep. Again. The ceiling above her felt too unfamiliar, the silence too loud, her thoughts too tangled to settle. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it. That moment. The almost kiss. The way her body had leaned toward Ethan without permission, like it already knew something her mind didn't. "This is stupid," she whispered into the darkness. She turned onto her side. Then her back. Then her side again. Nothing helped. With a frustrated sigh, Lena threw the blanket off and sat up. "Water," she muttered. "I just need water." That was a normal reason to be awake at whatever time it was. Definitely not because she couldn't stop thinking about her husband. She froze. Ugh. The word still felt wrong. She slipped out of bed quietly, careful not to make noise, and padded out into the hallway. The apartment was dim, lit only by faint city glow filtering through the windows. Everything felt softer at night. Less sharp. Less overwhelming. Until she noticed a faint light in the living room. Lena slowed. Is he still awake? Curiosity tugged at her. Carefully, she stepped closer, peeking around the corner. Ethan sat on the couch. Alone. No TV, no phone. Just him. And something in his hands. A small notebook. He was staring at it like it held something fragile. Something important. Something that hurt. Lena hesitated. Then, softly. "What's that?" Ethan flinched. Not dramatically, but enough that she noticed. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face before it settled into something more neutral. "You should be asleep." "So should you." A beat of silence. Then she stepped closer. "What is it?" she asked again, quieter this time. Ethan looked down at the notebook. His grip tightened slightly. "Nothing." "That's a lie." He exhaled slowly, like he was debating something with himself. Then, after a moment, he held it out to her. "Here." Lena blinked. "You're just giving it to me." "You asked." Suspicion flickered, but curiosity won. She took it carefully. It was worn. Not old exactly, but used. Like it had been opened many times. Her fingers traced the edge before she flipped it open. The moment she saw the first page, her breath caught. It was her handwriting. Messy, slightly rushed, unmistakably hers. At the top, written in uneven letters. "If I forget again, read this." A chill ran down her spine. "What is this?" she whispered. Ethan didn't answer right away. Lena flipped the page. More writing. Short sentences, scattered thoughts. Dates. Some crossed out. Some circled. "You woke up confused again today. Don't panic, he'll explain. Trust him, even if it feels wrong." Her heart began to pound. She turned another page. "He's still annoying. But he stayed. Even when I pushed him away." Her vision blurred slightly. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling now, "why did I write this?" He finally spoke. Quiet. Careful. "You don't remember writing it." She looked up at him. "No." The word felt heavy. Too heavy. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly, like he expected that answer, but didn't like it. "How many pages are there?" he asked. She flipped through quickly. Not a lot. But enough. Enough to feel like pieces of a life she didn't know. "Why would I need this?" she asked, her chest tightening. Ethan leaned back slightly, his gaze never leaving her. "Because you asked me to keep it for you." Her stomach dropped. "I did." "You said," he continued, voice steady but quieter now, "that if it happened again, you'd need proof." "Proof of what?" He didn't answer immediately. And that silence, that hesitation, was louder than anything else. Lena's grip on the notebook tightened. "Ethan." Her voice was sharper now. Demanding. Proof of what? He met her gaze. And for the first time since she woke up in this strange, unfamiliar life, there was no teasing. No sarcasm. No deflection. Just something raw. Something honest. That this is real, he said. Her breath caught. That what is real. A pause. Then, you and me. The words hit harder than they should have. Lena looked back down at the notebook. At her own handwriting. At the version of herself that had written these words. Like she knew something was coming. Like she had been trying to prepare for it. This doesn't make sense, Lena whispered. Ethan's voice softened, just slightly. I know. She flipped back to the first page again. If I forget again. Again. The word echoed in her mind. Why would I say again? She asked slowly. Silence. Too long. Too heavy. Lena looked up. And this time, she didn't see her rival. She didn't see the man she hated. She saw someone bracing himself. Waiting. For something to break. Ethan, she said, barely above a whisper. What happened to me? And this time, he didn't look away. Chapter 8, The Truth That Broke Everything. Ethan didn't answer right away. Lena hated that. She hated the silence more than any argument they'd ever had. Because silence meant this wasn't something he could joke about. Ethan, she said again, tighter this time, what happened to me? He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly like the words physically hurt to say. You're not time traveling. The sentence landed wrong. Flat. Unreal. Lena blinked. What? You didn't wake up 10 years in the future, he continued, his voice careful. You've been here the whole time. That doesn't make any sense, she said immediately. I remember yesterday. I remember school. I remember. You remember the past, he said gently, just not everything after. Her stomach twisted. What are you saying? Ethan held her gaze. And then, you've been losing your memory. The world tilted. No. It started small, he went on, steady but quiet. You'd forget conversations, misplace things, entire days sometimes. No, she repeated, shaking her head harder. That's not possible. I'm fine. I feel fine. You always say that. I am fine. Lena. No, her voice cracked, louder now, echoing in the quiet room. Don't say it like that, like it's real, like this is happening. It is happening. The words cut through her. Sharp. Unavoidable. Lena's grip on the notebook tightened until her knuckles turned white. Then why don't I remember? She whispered. Ethan's expression softened, but it didn't make it better. It's not consistent, he said. Some days you're okay, some days you forget things that just happened, and sometimes... He hesitated. Lena's chest tightened. Sometimes what? Sometimes you wake up thinking you're still 10 years in the past. Her breath hitched. Like now. The room felt too small. Too quiet. Too suffocating. No, she said again, weaker this time. This is a mistake. There has to be a mistake. Ethan didn't argue. Didn't interrupt. He just watched her, like he was waiting for her to catch up to something he'd already accepted. This is the first time this has happened, right? She asked quickly. That's why I don't remember. It's just a one-time thing. It's not. The words fell like a weight. How many times? She asked, her voice barely holding together. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. This is the third. Silence. Heavy. Deafening. Lena stared at him. Third. He nodded once. You woke up like this 2 months ago, and again 3 weeks after that. Her heart pounded in her ears. And every time, she swallowed, her voice trembling, I forgot everything. Not everything, he said quickly. Just us, the years in between, the parts that matter most. That hurt more than anything. Why would I forget that? She whispered. Ethan didn't have an answer. Or maybe he did, and it was worse. Lena looked back down at the notebook, flipping through the pages with shaking hands. The words felt different now. Heavier. More desperate. Don't panic. Trust him. He'll stay. Tears blurred her vision. I wrote this, she said softly. You did. I knew this would happen. You were trying to prepare for it. Her chest tightened painfully. Was I scared? Ethan's voice dropped. Terrified. That broke something. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. I don't want this, she whispered. I know. I don't want to forget my own life. I know. I don't want to forget you. The words hung in the air. Unexpected. Unfiltered. Lena froze slightly after saying them, like she hadn't meant to say it out loud. Ethan did too. Something flickered across his face. Quick. Ruh. You said that last time, he murmured. Her heart twisted. I did. You said it right before you wrote the notebook. She swallowed hard. Did I mean it? Ethan let out a quiet, almost breathless laugh. Yeah, he said, you did. Lena looked at him. Really looked at him. At the tiredness he tried to hide. At the way his shoulders carried something heavy. At the quiet way he stood there, like he'd been through this before and didn't know how many more times he could handle it. Does it hurt? She asked softly. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Then, yes. Just one word. Honest. Unfiltered. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. Lena's chest tightened. Why do you stay? She whispered. He looked at her like the answer was obvious. Because it's you. Her breath caught. You forget me, he continued quietly, but I don't forget you. Tears slipped freely now. That's not fair. I didn't say it was. She shook her head, her voice breaking. You shouldn't have to do this. You shouldn't have to keep starting over. I'm not starting over, he said firmly. She looked up. What do you mean? Ethan stepped closer. Not too close. But enough. I'm continuing, he said. You're the one who keeps restarting. The words settled deep. Painful. True. Lena clutched the notebook to her chest, like it might anchor her. What if one day, she whispered, I don't come back? Ethan's expression didn't change. But something in his eyes did. Then I'll stay anyway. Her breath hitched. Why? His voice softened. Because even if you forget me forever. He paused. Then finished, quieter. I'll still love you enough for both of us. And that was the moment everything broke. Chapter 9, Fall in Love with Me Again. The apartment felt different after that. Quieter. Heavier. Like the truth had settled into every corner, pressing down on everything Lena thought she understood. She sat on the edge of the bed, the notebook resting in her lap. Her notebook. Her handwriting. Her memories, trapped in ink because her mind couldn't hold them anymore. This is insane, she whispered, but there was no fight left in it. Only fear. And something else. Something softer. A knock on the doorframe pulled her attention up. Ethan. He didn't step in right away. Just leaned there, like he was giving her space to breathe. Are you okay? He asked. It was such a simple question. So normal. And yet. No, she admitted. He nodded once, like he expected that answer. Do you want me to leave? The question caught her off guard. Leave? For some reason, that idea made her chest tighten. No, she said quickly, then softer, just don't stand so far away. Something flickered in his expression. Relief. He stepped inside, but not too close, Careful, like approaching something fragile. Like approaching her. Lena watched him for a moment, then looked down at the notebook again. You really stayed through all of this? She asked quietly. Yes. You didn't get tired. I did. She blinked, surprised by the honesty. But I didn't leave, he added. Why? Ethan didn't hesitate this time. Because you're worth staying for. Her throat tightened. You don't even know if I'll remember you tomorrow. I know. You don't know if I'll choose you again. I don't need to. She frowned slightly. What does that mean? Ethan stepped a little closer now. Close enough that she could see the small details in his expression. The exhaustion. The patience. The quiet, stubborn certainty. It means I'll choose you, he said, even if you don't choose me. Lena's heart stuttered. That's not fair. Maybe not. You deserve someone who remembers you. I have someone, he said simply. You have someone who forgets you. I have you. The words settled deep. Too deep. Lena looked away quickly, overwhelmed. I don't understand you. You don't have to. Yes, I do, she said, her voice tightening. Because right now you're a stranger I apparently married, and I don't know why. Silence. Then, ask me. She looked back at him. What? Ask me why you married me. Her fingers tightened around the notebook. Why did I? Ethan studied her for a moment, like he was deciding how much to say. Then, because I stopped fighting you. She frowned. That's it. No, he said quietly, because I stopped pretending I didn't care. Her breath caught. And you, she asked, why did you agree? A small, almost amused exhale left him. I didn't agree. What? I said no. Her eyes widened. You rejected me. You were hysterical, he said. Crying, yelling, threatening to marry someone else out of spite. That sounds like me. It does. Then what happened? He stepped closer again. This time, she didn't step back. You asked me one question, he said softly. What question? His gaze held hers. If I forget everything one day, will you still stay? Her heart stopped. And, she whispered. Ethan's voice dropped. I couldn't say no to that. Silence wrapped around them. Thick. Emotional. Dangerous. Lena swallowed hard. Then do it again. He blinked. Do what? She stood up slowly, closing the distance between them. Make me fall in love with you. Ethan's brows lifted slightly. Again. Yes. You're serious. I don't remember choosing you, she said, her voice steadier now. So give me a reason to. Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise. Not hesitation. Something closer to resolve. You don't make things easy, do you? He murmured. I never did. A small smile tugged at his lips. Yeah, he said, I remember. Lena crossed her arms, trying to ignore the way her heart was racing. Well what? Aren't you going to start? Ethan stepped closer. Close enough that she had to tilt her head slightly to look up at him. Careful, he said softly. You fall fast. Her breath hitched. That's not reassuring. It wasn't meant to be. She held his gaze, refusing to look away this time. Prove it. Ethan didn't rush. Didn't tease. Didn't deflect. He just looked at her, like he already knew how this would end. I will, he said quietly. A pause. Then softer. Every time. And somehow, even without remembering, Lena believed him. Chapter 10, The Twist of Tomorrow. Days passed. Not many. Just enough to feel dangerous. Lena stopped counting time the normal way. Instead, she measured it in moments, small, fragile things she was terrified of losing. The way Ethan handed her coffee without asking. The way he paused before touching her, like he was giving her the choice every time. The way she started noticing him. Really noticing him. "This is suspicious," she muttered one morning, watching him from across the kitchen. Ethan raised a brow. "What is?" "You. That's vague. You're trying too hard." "I'm making toast." "Exactly." He huffed a quiet laugh, sliding a plate toward her. "You liked this yesterday." "I don't remember yesterday." The words came out sharper than she intended. The air stilled. Ethan didn't react right away. But she saw it. That tiny flicker. That almost flinch he tried to hide. And suddenly, Lena hated herself a little. "Sorry," she said quietly. "It's okay." "It's not." He shrugged lightly. "I'm used to it." That made it worse. Lena looked down at the toast, appetite gone. "I don't want you to get used to it," she said softly. Ethan didn't answer. Later that day, Lena wandered through the apartment alone. Not aimlessly. Not exactly. She was looking for something. Proof. Comfort. Anything that could anchor her to this life she didn't remember choosing, but was slowly starting to feel. Her fingers brushed against the bookshelf. Then the couch. Then the drawer. She paused. Something about it felt familiar. Slowly, she pulled it open. Inside. The notebook. Her chest tightened. Right. She picked it up carefully, like it was fragile. Like it held something important. Because it did. Lena sat down, flipping it open. The pages were the same. The words were the same. But this time, they felt different. Heavier. Real. Her eyes scanned quickly until she reached the last page. The unfinished one. Her breath hitched. "If you're reading this, it means it's getting worse." Her grip tightened. No. Below it. Different handwriting. Not hers. "Ethan, even if you forget me forever, I'll still love you enough for both of us." Tears blurred her vision instantly. Her chest ached. Not from confusion this time. From understanding. "Idiot," she whispered, her voice breaking. Her fingers trembled as she traced the words. He had written this knowing. Knowing she might read it as a stranger. Knowing she might not remember the person he was to her. And he wrote it anyway. A soft sound behind her made her freeze. "Lena." She turned. Ethan stood there. Watching her. Not surprised. Not alarmed. Just waiting. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. Her throat tightened. "You wrote this," she said, holding up the notebook slightly. He nodded once. "Yeah. Why would you do that?" He stepped closer, slow and careful. "So you'd know." "Know what?" "That you were loved." The simplicity of it shattered her. Lena stood up, closing the distance between them without thinking. "You're an idiot," she said again, but softer this time. "I've been called worse." "You just accepted it," she continued, her voice trembling. "That I might forget you completely." Ethan held her gaze. "I didn't accept it." "Then why?" "I chose you anyway." Her breath caught. "You keep choosing me," she whispered. "Yes. Even when I don't remember you." "Yes. That's not fair." "I know." Silence settled between them. But it wasn't heavy this time. It was steady. Grounding. Lena looked at him. Really looked at him. At the man she once hated. The man she somehow married. The man who kept loving her through every version of herself. "Ethan," she said softly. "Yeah." Her heart pounded. Her mind uncertain. But something deeper. Something stubborn. Something hers. Remained. She stepped closer. close enough to feel his breath, close enough that the space between them disappeared. "I think," she began slowly, "I'm about to fall for you again." Ethan's expression shifted. Just slightly. Relief. Hope. Something fragile. "Good," he murmured. "Because I never stopped." And this time, Lena didn't hesitate. She leaned in, closed the distance, and kissed him. Soft at first. Careful. Like testing something new. But then, warmer. Certain. Real. When she pulled back, her heart was racing. "That felt right," she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said, "it always does." She let out a small, shaky laugh. "Good." A pause. Then, "In case I forget tomorrow." Ethan's hand found hers, steady and warm. "Then I'll remind you." Her fingers tightened around his. "Every time." He nodded. "Every time." And for the first time since she woke up, Lena wasn't afraid of tomorrow. Even if she forgot, she knew one thing would remain. He would still be there, choosing her. Again. And again. And again. Bonus chapter: The Day You Forgot Me, Ethan's POV. "The first time she forgot me, I thought it was a joke." Lena Park didn't forget things. She remembered everything. Deadlines, details, the exact words I said 3 weeks ago in an argument I didn't even remember having. Her memory was terrifyingly precise. So when she looked at me one morning and said, "Sorry, do I know you?" I laughed. "Very funny," I said, setting down my keys. She didn't laugh back. That was when I realized something was wrong. "Lena," I said carefully, stepping closer. "What do you mean?" She frowned at me. Actually frowned. Like she was trying to place me and couldn't. "I mean, you're in my house," she said slowly. "And you look familiar, but..." My chest tightened. "But what?" "But I don't remember you." The words didn't hit all at once. They settled slowly. Like something sinking. Heavy. Unavoidable. I glanced around the apartment, our apartment. Her shoes by the door, her books on the table, the jacket she stole from me draped over the couch. Proof of us. Everywhere. And yet, nothing in her eyes recognized me. "You're kidding," I said, quieter now. "I'm not," she replied, a hint of unease creeping into her voice. "Should I remember you?" That question. It broke something. Because the answer was supposed to be obvious. Of course you should. But standing there, looking at her like this, confused, distant, careful, I realized she couldn't. We went to the doctor that day. Tests, questions, long explanations I barely processed. Memory disruption. Unpredictable recall. Possibly progressive. Words that didn't sound real. Didn't feel real. Not until we got home. Not until she looked at me again and said, "So, what are we?" I almost laughed. Because how do you answer that? How do you explain years of love to someone who doesn't remember a single moment of it? "We're married," I said. She blinked. "You're serious?" "Yeah." She stared at the ring on her finger like it didn't belong to her. "Why?" That one hurt more than the rest. "Because you love me," I said. She hesitated. "I don't think I do." Honest. Unfiltered. And completely fair. I nodded slowly. "Yeah," I said. "Right now you don't." Silence stretched between us. Then, "Are you going to leave?" she asked. The question caught me off guard. I frowned. "What?" "I mean," she said, fidgeting slightly, "if I don't remember you, it's basically like we're strangers. So..." "No." The word came out before I could think. "Firm." "Certain." Lena blinked. "No. I'm not leaving." Why not? Because I couldn't. Because even if she forgot me, I still remembered everything. The way she argued like it was a sport. The way she laughed when she forgot to be guarded. The way she looked at me the first time she said she loved me. Like it scared her. Because you're still you, I said finally. She looked unconvinced. I don't feel like me. You are. She studied me for a long moment. That sounds biased. It is. That almost made her smile. Almost. Okay, she said slowly. Then what happens now? I took a breath, steadying myself, then stepped closer. Not too close. Not enough to overwhelm her. Just enough to start again. Now, I said, I remind you. Of what? I held her gaze. Of everything. She hesitated. That sounds like a lot of work. It is. And you're okay with that. I didn't hesitate. Yeah. Why? I exhaled softly. Because there was only one answer that mattered. Because you're worth it. She went quiet after that. Didn't argue. Didn't push. Just nodded. And that was the moment I understood something. This wasn't going to be a one-time thing. This was going to happen again. And again. And again. But it didn't matter. Because every time she forgot, I would remember. Every time she lost me, I would find her. And every time she asked, why would I choose you? I would give her a reason. Again. And again. And again. The end. This story was brought to you by Romance Hobbit. Thank you so much.